Welcome to Cashflow Academy Podcast. I'm your host, Andy Tanner. This is where we make investing simple. Today, that's going to be a heck of a task because we're going to talk about something we don't know very much about, but we're going to talk about from an investor perspective rather than a practitioner perspective. Google announced a pretty big breakthrough in their quantum computing efforts. So we're going to talk about investing in quantum computing. And, of course, that is associated also with AI. So we'll talk a little bit about what little we know about quantum computing, but as an investor, why that's a big deal. And I think it'll be a great discussion. So click like, subscribe, and also go to yourinvestingclass.com for all the free things we have waiting for you. It's free stuff. Go get your free stuff. Don't miss out on your free stuff at yourinvestingclass.com. Joined by Corey Halliday and Noah Davidson. Fast introductions. Corey Halliday.
Yeah, excited to be here. So I got my start in the markets over 20 years ago. Started trading, investing, became licensed, had a Series 4 and a Series 7 license. Series 4 is an option principal. Ran an option trading floor for a number of years, and that's really risk management. Now love to teach and educate.
Fantastic. Noah Davidson.
I placed my first trade on a dial-up modem, and I have been in the educational sphere since about 2003.
Awesome.
So I've been helping people learn how to trade and invest with more confidence, and it's been a lifelong pursuit for me of knowledge. So
think about you starting on a dial-up modem, and we're about to talk about quantum computing. Yeah. You know, whenever you say a dial-up modem, I think of that ding.
Yeah, weird noise.
And you would sit there and watch the web page gradually come down, you know. And now we're talking about quantum computing, which is, we're going to give some data that's just mind-boggling.
So I'm not a computer scientist. You know, I'm fascinated in the quantum computing simply because, you know, it is the next big thing, but it's not a big thing. It's huge. And, so what is quantum computing? Well, you probably ought to Google that somewhere else other than listen to me. But from what I gather, what is the digital world? Well, the digital world, they talk about ones and zeros a lot, called a bit. And bits are either 1 or 0 or on or off or positive or negative or however you want to say it. It's just they turn circuits on and off. And so when you build a circuit, they used to do this stuff manually, on and off. They used to build machines out of wood and calculators that could do, stuff like this based on or off. And you have a limit in terms of size. We can get nanotechnology and really, really, really tiny and less energy to turn that circuit on or off and have all those if-then ramifications from those circuits. And it's just an arrangement of circuits. But quantum computing is different. It's not that it's not a bit. It's called a qubit, a quantum bit. And a quantum bit can not just be on or off. It's the infinitesimal amount of what can be between 1 and 0 is a way to think of it and what way people think of it. I mean, it's infinitely bigger and can do more. The problem is stabilizing those types of qubits. They have to refrigerate them. When you look the chip's about this big, but you look at the chandelier, they call it, that simply takes out heat and makes it colder and colder and colder because things stabilize, the quantum stuff stabilizes better when there's less heat in the environment. So it's really one of the coldest places on the universe. I mean, it's not absolute 0, but it flirts with it. I don't know what Kelvin it is. But when you see a quantum computer, well, the big chandelier is simply cooling.
Yeah.
So they're trying to figure out how to stabilize this stuff. And the key is how do you create a chip that can be stable and really truly use that infinite amount of on and off between the on and the off, so to speak. So when you deal with infinity, you're going to flirt with some numbers that nothing ever approaches infinity. It's impossible to approach it, but it opens up a world of numbers that are truly mind-boggling. So let's talk about Google's announcement. Does anyone have it on their phone?
Yeah, I sent it to you guys, and this was yesterday that he announced, and it's Sundar Pichai, who's the CEO of Google.
Yeah.
And he said, introducing Willow, our new state-of-the-art quantum computing chip with a breakthrough that can reduce errors exponentially as we scale up using more qubits, cracking a 30-year challenge in the field. In benchmark tests, Willow solved a standard computation in less than 5 minutes that would take a leading supercomputer over 10 to the 25th degree years, far beyond the age of the universe.
I feel better about myself because I'm kind of can see myself as a supercomputer now. Because I remember in college there were certain chemistry and physics tests where I looked at this and thought, it would take me several multiples of the time of existence since the Big Bang to solve this.
It would take you quadrillion years to
the fact that the
figure it out.
supercomputers have the same problem. That's pretty amazing. It takes a supercomputer
basically longer than. Think of how old our universe is.
It's 13 billion.
Billions of years, and it's multiples more time than that.
Vast multiples.
That it would take a supercomputer to figure it out.
Trillions of years.
And Willow can figure it out in less than 5 minutes.
Yeah. So
you're saying I
crack
need
that.
to update my passwords.
Yes.
You crack that, and a couple things happen. Number one is you can have all the Bitcoin that's left to be mined now because you could figure out those.
You could crack the codes.
You'd have that stuff just bang. I mean, 10 minutes you'd have all the Bitcoin left in the world. The bigger threat is, if a political enemy broke through this, your cryptography is now gone.
Yeah.
Your cryptography is gone. On the positive side, that's less Orwellian and less worrisome. On the positive side is the problems you could give it to solve in terms of healthcare. Here's what we know about Alzheimer's. Now go look at and compute what we might not know about. I mean, its ability. It's not the same, though, as AI. And it wouldn't be used in the same ways that our personal computers and phones would be used. It's a totally different way. It's kind of like if you saw a wall of drawers and the answer's in one of those drawers through scenarios, that it could go through and figure out which drawers to open faster than just opening every drawer. It's just quicker.
Yeah.
And so the question is, do you invest in this? And to me, the answer is, of course you do. And I think it's a little different now. I do believe it is a little different than the dot-com boom in that I've said before, maybe it's some father-son duo working in their garage that's going to come up with the next cool AI. I don't think so. I think it's too advanced for that. I think the guys that really work on AI at a big scale, it's the Apples, it's the Googles, it's
Microsoft,
the guys established are going to get more established.
Yeah, they have the money. They also are
the motive.
They're also building out the infrastructure. I mean, like you talked about what you need for cooling. Well, you need supercomputers to figure out things like how to get past the way they developed Willow was working their way through this step by step. So the idea that two people in a garage are going to have the ability to figure these things out just seems impossible.
It's not probable.
And also, if anyone shows promise in the field, they're probably going to get bought out, or they're going to hire those people to come work for them or what have you. So it is very much motivated by these huge tech companies, so much so that they're investing billions of dollars to build nuclear energy plants to fulfill that.
From an idea standpoint, you do see migration. You see defectors. You see someone at Google who's working on a really cool thing, and they have an issue with Google, so they go out and raise capital and do their own. But that's still big.
Yeah.
That's still big stuff. As an investor, I think about it as my sons grow older. As a parent, you want to guide your kid, and what are they going to do with their life? And I tell my sons, I go, I'd make a lot of your life about ownership now rather than working.
Yeah.
You certainly want to have work. It's important to have work for our mental health. The idea that we had achievement, the idea we're pushing against something. I picture a life of sitting on the side of the pool with something under an umbrella in it forever, and that to me is not paradise. There's no achievement there. There's no challenge there. There's no victories to be had there. Yeah. The Christmas day is cool for about an hour in the morning, and by Christmas afternoon, we're fighting over stuff that we didn't have yesterday.
Yeah.
My turn to play the video game or whatever. So I think that ownership you got to have a job or a career or some impact. You have to have work to do, is what I should say.
Yeah, you want to have a kind of a calling. What is it that you
calling,
love?
something.
What is it that drives you? And the idea of working for money.
But if your calling is to be an artist, you better be a good one.
Yeah, but I think as long as you're doing the stuff that you love, you're going to find a way to make it through life. And, maybe art isn't going to pay the bills and you have to do some other things, but you want to keep that in your life. And so, I just think the world's unpredictable, because we would have told our kids, well, you want to be a programmer. Programming's the future. Yeah. Well, I hate programming. It doesn't matter. That's the future. And now they're doing all these things where maybe ChatGPT is going to do all the programming.
No, I can have it do the programming.
Exactly. And so maybe programmers become obsolete. So I think chasing money is far more dangerous than chasing your passion, your callings. Those things will lead you to a better place.
I do like the idea of ownership, though.
For sure.
Because the things, like if you cannot compete with it, you have to own it.
Yeah.
So the idea, if you look at AI in an Orwellian view, that, it's dangerous, and frankly, I think it is. I think it's really dangerous.
I, for one, support our new tech overlords.
Well,
you want to be on record. You want to be on record.
The rhetoric programmed into ChatGPT, it's a very dishonest. It's not about veracity. I mean, ChatGPT is extremely dishonest. I mean, it is rhetorical in nature, and it's programmed for outcomes rather than for truth.
Yeah.
In other words, it considers before it responds what the likely outcome of its response is rather than what is true. And that's just what happens with AI is the AI does not serve the user, it serves their programmers and the intention of the programmers.
Yeah.
So what it does is it brings unspeakable power into a very concentrated group of people, very concentrated group of institutions.
It's the One Ring.
So the idea, it is. So the idea is, I think you got to own those people.
Yeah.
I think the investors own them. And the investors profit from their work. And so you don't want to compete with AI, you want to own it. You want to compete with quantum computing, you want to own it. If these guys are building nuclear reactors for enough energy to power these chandeliers and power this stuff, you got to know they're not dumb. They see a huge ROI in the space race.
No question.
So, I'm not saying, I'm saying if you buy the dip, there may be no dip.
Yeah.
And there's risk in it, and don't put every money you have every time you have into Google. But I'll tell you what, having no exposure to these frontiers, to me, it'd be irresponsible not to have some exposure to it at this point.
Well, for what I don't know about quantum computing, which is a lot, I do know about buying the asset, protecting it with options if I need to.
Yeah,
I don't have to be able to predict the future or know who's going to win. I can
posture
myself in a position where I can hedge against the downside. And if the investment, if Google takes off because of this new, their stock price gapped up 10 points overnight just on this news alone.
Yeah.
The momentum play on that as a trader, I can expose myself to that with a butterfly or some fancy option strategy that limits my downside risk.
Yeah, and like you say, if it falls, we have exits. It's very much like it was when it was an IPO. It's either going to take off or it isn't. If it isn't, get out. But not to not have ownership and exposure. I don't fight with them. I roll my eyes at it. People are always fighting about asset classes and how stocks are stupid. And I'm like, I don't bash real estate because I like real estate. I like it. Yeah. I own it. I appreciate the money that comes from it. The upside to real estate is one of leverage, how many deals you can do. But A properties are going to be valued as A's and B as B's and C as C's. The upside of technology and the upside of all it will bring is so much bigger than anything I've ever thought of before because of the impact it can have on the world.
Yeah.
And not having any exposure to that is probably irresponsible if we don't get some exposure to it even more than we have.
And stocks just give you so much more upside than almost anything else because what property has gone up as much as NVIDIA has the last few years? Is there a property in the world?
Not even just from a capital gain point, from a cash flow standpoint.
Absolutely. But you look at their numbers, they made, I think, $5 billion in earnings last year. They made 31, I believe, billion in earnings. that type of growth, you think about like 5 times, 6 times your earnings amount. That's the bottom line. That's how much you're left with. And it went up by like 600%. Where else can you find things that can appreciate that in that manner? And so that's one of the things that stocks give you, is there is upside potential in stocks that you probably don't have in other asset classes.
Yeah.
And there's also, that's one of the underlying features of stocks is volatility. That you also don't see your housing prices have as much volatility ups and downs as your stock portfolio, right? That's part of getting a quote every single day, is you'll have people that'll go through euphoric phases and go through, periods where they're depressed and stock prices get depressed. But the point being that some of these stocks, and there will be others, where you'll look at it and you'll say, I couldn't go out and buy a real estate property and make 10,000% over the next handful of years. But stocks, I'm not saying you can predict perfectly which one that will be, but there will be some stocks that will be up
10,000
thousands of percent. And so
not just 10 baggers, 100 baggers, 1,000 baggers.
Yeah. And that's because the business can grow exponentially. It can explode.
It's because you can serve more people, which is the more people I serve, the more effective I become, as a generalized principle.
Yeah.
And if you're a stock guy, you got to get out of thinking you're buying a piece of paper. You're buying a part of a business that serves people. So the mantra, or the generalized principle of the more people I serve, the more effective I become. The average guy like you and me, we don't have exposure out unless they're willing to share through stock shares, where we can share in those benefits, share in that ownership, share in those profits. It's incumbent upon us to buy the things we cannot compete with.
Yeah.
If a person's going to say, there's a concentration of wealth occurring, share in that.
Yeah.
Because what happens? Then it disperses it. If the wealth is being concentrated in Google, but Google's now cut up and dispersed into billions of shares around the world, that dilutes that concentration to the benefit of humanity. But if you don't participate and you don't buy your shares, it will concentrate into BlackRock and into Vanguard and into Fidelity. It will concentrate into those institutions.
Yeah.
That's why, 401ks just make my head hurt. Go buy a company, get some ownership, get out of the freaking mutual fund stuff.
Yep.
Quit making those other guys rich. So quantum computing. When we come back, we're going to talk more about some of the ramifications of this, how to evaluate this stuff, the idea of how to protect that Noah brought up. In the meantime, go to yourinvestingclass.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll be back in a moment.
So far, it's been great. I needed a source where I could really enrich my education through stocks. I didn't really have an avenue for it, and it's helped me a lot. The simplicity has really gotten me on the track to where I enjoy the learning, as well as it's really solidifying in my mind. And they're not just trying to sell you something, they really care about the people that are in the course, and they really do care about you and your personal goals, and what you want to do is to help you and your family and whatever your goals are in life through that. So it's really been great.
Welcome back to the Cashflow Academy Podcast. I'm here with my friends Noah Davidson and Corey Halliday. We've been talking about the news that broke with Google and their step forward, and they made a quantum leap in their quantum computing efforts, gapped their stock up about $10 or so. Is it time to look into buying some of these stocks? If you haven't, I won't give stock advice. Do what you want to do, but I'll tell you, I think it's bigger, and I think it's scary. I think one of the things that scares me most about Bitcoin is the obsolescence risk, because I've said this before 1,000 times. Obsolescence risk is real, and you become espoused to something and dogmatic about it very easily as someone who benefits from something, whatever, whether it be your politics or your religion or your investments. But Netscape used the hypertext transfer protocol probably first on the wide scale. People used to call the internet Netscape. Hey, I'm going to go get on Netscape. It was almost synonymous. Nowhere to be found. Napster, nowhere to be found. WordPerfect, that was word processing. Nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
So if you have this ledger that is based on cryptography, and that you have this open ledger that you care about, right? This idea, and you could use blockchain in a lot of different ways, but blockchain changes, I think, under the hand of quantum computing. And I think there's a bigger, better mousetrap to be built than what you have right now with AI where it is, quantum computing where it is, energy problems where they are. I just can't imagine that a better mousetrap doesn't come along very, very quickly, and that a person wouldn't want to be cautious of that. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, crypto's one of those things where it's cryptocurrency, right? So it's a currency. And
sort of.
The problem with investing in currency is obviously the risk of devaluation. And so that's the argument for crypto is, there's only a set amount of Bitcoin that'll ever be mined, and it'll never be more than this. And that has limitations in terms of you can keep dividing the Bitcoins up a million different ways, but will it ever be spread out amongst the world enough to be usable?
And it goes against the way, I think it's a hedge. I don't think it's your core. I think it's a hedge. I think you look at it, but it's a hedge. Why? Well, if Bitcoin became the thing, then I can get Bitcoins.
Yeah.
I'll say, hey, renters, Bitcoins are things now. Do you have any? Oh, hey, get out because I only accept Bitcoins.
Yeah.
If you have a business, you can accept whatever currency people have and whatever currency you want. Yeah. And right now, no one's paying rent in that currency.
Yeah. And
so you can acquire crypto, start selling whatever you're selling.
Yeah.
Any of these companies can acquire it.
Some of those,
if it's truly currency.
Some of those NFL football players took part of their payment, took part of their salary in Bitcoin.
Beautiful.
And that happened a few years back.
Yeah.
I think Odell Beckham was one of them that took a portion of it in Bitcoin. And so Bitcoin has gone up in value. That looks really smart, but ultimately it's a currency that way.
Did you see Gronk and the roast on Tom Brady?
Oh, yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
And Nikki
even me know that not real money.
Yeah,
even
Nikki
me know
Glaser,
not
man,
that real.
she was cold.
Yeah.
Even Gronk say, me know not real money.
Yeah. She's like, Tom, how could you fall for this? Even Gronk was like, even me know that not real money.
The crypto space has got quite a few problems with fraud. With coins, with I don't know.
But quantum computing changes everything on this, doesn't it? Like, how do you acquire Bitcoin now? You got to solve a problem, and these problems become more difficult than before. Okay, throw Google's new chip on the decrypting, whatever you got to decrypt to earn another Bitcoin, to earn another spot on the blockchain.
How quickly can they achieve?
Well, they got them all in 10
answers.
minutes.
Yeah,
less than that.
Yeah,
they got them all in 10 minutes. So, and they say, well, how would you solve a problem of having to change a global ledger? If someone can solve a $317 trillion problem in less than 5 minutes, you can probably figure that stuff out. The cryptography, the idea to decode and to simply trial and error yourself through cryptography at those types of speeds, it's instantaneous.
Yeah. And then the ultimate problem is, so say I own some Bitcoin, right? It's something that I own. Well, essentially, it's like owning some gold coins or something to that effect, because what I'm hoping is the value goes up at some point.
Someone pays more for it
Someone
than
pays
I
more.
did.
But it's not working for me. It's not producing more.
You're not making money by holding it.
Right. If I go out and I buy a business, they have revenue, they have expenses, they have earnings. They can go out and operate efficiently, bring in more money. Over time, they will generate, if it's a good company, they'll make more money than what I ever paid for the stock, and they'll keep doing that decade after decade after decade, right?
Buffett says interesting. He says, if you want to give me 5% of the farmland, I'll write you a check because it'll produce corn. If you want to give me 5% of the real estate, I'll write you a check. It produces housing. The reason I like stocks so much is I would never want to sell my real estate. And I tell my sons, man, if our family trust gets a piece of this world, don't give it up to other people.
Yeah. Right?
Use what it can produce to produce cash flow, but don't give it up to other people because it it gets lucrative. Well, the same's true with the real estate of the S&P 500. If you have a certain amount of production, which is really all land is, it's a place that can offer production. You either drill the oil, or you cut down the trees, or you grow the farm, or you house the children. Land is a way to produce things, to get value. Well, look at the landscape of the S&P 500. Would you not want to participate in companies like Google, Apple, NVIDIA, whatever, or even companies like, PepsiCo or Coke, where they do foods. There's only so many amount of land on the earth. They're not making more. Well, there's only so much value of a company. Now, they could certainly make more shares, but they couldn't make more value. Yeah. So getting your portion of that value, even if the stock might split, the portion of that you have remains the same in terms of the ratio. So why would you give that stuff up? Keep it in your family trust, get more of it. And as far as the internet goes, everyone wishes they'd have bought more Microsoft or more Apple or more NVIDIA or more Intel or more whatever. Yeah. Everyone wishes they would have. To me, this is a no-brainer. This is not I wonder if Google's going to go up. They're going to go up, I think.
Yeah. It's one of those things where if you look at the business and you look at the opportunity going forward of what they can achieve, you start to get to places where you say, we think of Google as a tech company, but are they a tech company? Because maybe they're a healthcare company.
Maybe they're a consumer company.
What type of things are they going to figure out? Are they going to be able to figure out solutions to cancer or perfectly aligned drugs to people's genes? And, what can they figure out with this stuff? And all of a sudden you start opening up avenues where you say, well, maybe this takes over other spaces where they're huge in the healthcare space and they're huge in the.
Oh, look at Apple's already done it. Apple's in the entertainment space. Yeah. Or Amazon's in the entertainment space, right? They're producing movies.
Yep.
Apple is in the financial space because you can pay with your Apple, what do they call it? Apple Pay. They're in the consumer electronics space. They're a consumer company. I wouldn't be surprised that.
And I think what's a blockbuster? What's a blockbuster drug worth? What if they find out something for Alzheimer's or Parkinson's or cancers or things like that, and you start opening up prospects where you say, okay, maybe they're not trading at a really low PE right now, but do I think that they're a sustainable business at this current level? And do I think that the opportunity for them is massive in these other spaces? Because that's one of the things that people have invested in Tesla for, was saying it's not about the cars. It's about what they're going to do in energy, and it's about what they're going to do in space and what they're going to do here and there. Yeah, batteries. And so you have to have that open mind of it's not just about today. It's also about what can these businesses, what are the opportunities that they have available to them, and what would I pay for those opportunities?
Yeah, so it is about asset ownership, and these are very fascinating assets. And as you say, it'll leak out. I mean, the iPhone is cool, but the apps are cooler.
Yeah.
The people that make the apps it's like everyone was upset about the Japanese when they were taking over electronics, like the VCR and you had like Mitsubishi and
Sony.
Sony, and I'm like, well, great, go buy your Sony VCR, but it's Hollywood that makes the movies.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's very much the same. Quantum computing and AI, these technologies, it'll change how Campbell's Soup does their soup, hopefully for the better. Everything will become more efficient. It isn't about just buying Google. It's about owning business, because what they do, just like the internet made business better, quantum computing and AI are going to make businesses of all kinds better. You want to be exposed to business. You want to own businesses right now and participate in the growth of this stuff.
The hope would be that efficiency, like the efficiency of everything going forward, would improve, and you would hope that government would embrace AI in the way that they say. This is one of the things that I actually like that President Trump is trying to initiate, which is let's have
Doge.
The
Department of Government Efficiency.
Exactly.
AI is going to.
We already
but let's
have a
send
department
Elon
for
Musk.
that. It just doesn't do anything.
I do
It's just
trust
not very
Elon
efficient.
Musk at
Yeah.
least to be a
Yeah,
smart
exactly.
businessman to say where are inefficiencies, where are things that we can take out the waste, and that's the right mentality. So
Well, that's what he does.
Yeah.
As the reason capitalists have to do that. We're
Yeah.
always trying to eliminate
survival.
waste.
Yeah,
Government gets bloated because they have no regard for waste.
yeah. They
None.
can just print more money. Yeah.
Yeah, print more, do it. So interesting time. Follow the Google story. Invest in what you want to. As for me, I like the idea of buying more assets in that sector myself. I mean, IBM, and I'm not a big ETF guy, but even the Qs right now, any of those big players, the Q I feel is pretty concentrated and weighted towards the big players.
Very much so.
Yeah.
So if you want to get exposed to big players, buy your Qs.
Same with the S&P. The S&P is very heavily weighted
Yeah.
in those same tech stocks.
It really is.
My kind of personal opinion is, if it's got options, I can pick. I don't have
That's
to be the
the
world's
thing.
best picker either.
Go
'cause I can
further
always
on
real-
that, Noah, because that's a part of the discussion that helps eliminate the fear
Yeah,
of
well,
not understanding the future or the fundamentals.
It makes it a
behind
lot
them.
easier to buy with confidence if you develop a couple skill sets. Learn how to buy a protective put. Learn how to sell a covered call.
Learn how to collar it.
Learn how to collar it. Those things that can help you. It doesn't matter. You can have all the drive and gumption to go invest and be a participant in these. And the fear is well, what if I'm wrong? Well, what if I make a mistake? Well, what if this this company loses?
The people on the Titanic did not die because the ship sank and didn't get to where it was headed. The people on the Titanic did not die because they hit an iceberg. The people on the Titanic didn't die because the water was too cold and they got hypothermia. The people on the Titanic didn't die because they couldn't swim or because the captain was incompetent or because there was a flaw in the big ship. The people on the Titanic died for one reason: insufficient lifeboats. That's it. No exit. And when you have a knowledge like you have, Noah, and you, Corey, of exit and hedge and insurance, you didn't lose your fortune because your house burnt down. You lost your fortune because you didn't have any home insurance.
Yeah.
And so the ability to move forward comes from knowing how Plan B works, and having Plan B gives you a lot of courage, or not even courage. Then it really eliminates the fear, where you don't have to have enough courage. You kind of replace intelligence for the courage.
Right.
Yep.
The fear goes away because of intelligence.
Yeah, I might be nervous to have $500,000 in a house, worried that it would burn down. But since I know I have insurance, I'm not worried about it burning down. And so that same philosophy, knowing how to
having
protect
stuff and how to protect stuff.
And I would also add, Leonardo wouldn't have died if Kate Winslet had just scooted over on that.
Yeah, there's
and
plenty
let
of
him
room on that
climb.
headboard.
Yeah.
Plenty of room. He died for no reason.
Shoot, Kate Winslet, she's pretty buoyant
And
in
that's
herself. isn't
That's
she?
a hill I'll die on right there.
That movie is a rough one. It's been a year since I saw it, but man, I was so bummed because they made it like it was the biggest thing ever, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, how long does it take a ship to sink?
Yeah.
We've been here a long time.
At the time, though, it was.
They made a big deal, but I'm not a Leonardo fan. There's, I'm really bad with Hollywood. There's certain actresses and actors where I'm just like, it's like, I better not name names or I get canceled. But there's certain actors that my sons can't freaking stand.
Yeah.
Why can't you like this guy? I go, Dad, come on. You think that guy could really take a punch?
Yeah.
If you can't take a punch, my sons don't. No.
All right. What's your go-to movie? You got to just watch one
It's
movie.
Hoosiers.
Hoosiers. That's a great
Yeah,
one.
it's freaking second. It's Hoosiers.
I'll make it.
I'll make it.
Yeah.
No team this
that's a great
small
one.
has ever been to state championships.
Yeah. And then he measures. It's still 10 feet. That's
I
great.
love you, son.
I love Hoosiers.
Yeah.
Mine is Braveheart.
Braveheart.
I'd throw
Freedom.
on a Braveheart.
Shawshank
Freedom.
Redemption.
Shawshank.
Those are kind of my
great.
top tier.
Shawshank's really a good movie, dude. It's all about freedom and achievement.
Yep. But yeah,
Hoosiers.
Braveheart kind of gets the feels going.
Oh yeah, Hoosiers the same day. I'll get a little teary-eyed. I'll get a little teary-eyed over
We're
Hoosiers.
talking to a man that hit the state championship buzzer beater here.
Yeah.
He's lived it. So that's why Hoosiers wasn't on yours. Like, movie, the real thing's better.
Yeah.
The book is better than the movie, and the real game's better than the book, Andy.
Based on actual events.
Well, you've seen
Based on true
you've
events.
seen the actual video.
It's impressive.
Yeah.
The whole house comes down. I mean, it's
all
better.
all the
it's
fans
better than the movie. The real thing, small town. What?
Yeah, we
was
were
that
in
1A or 2A?
2A.
You're not the 2A.
Yeah.
1A, you got 10 guys in the gym.
Yeah, no,
2A,
it
you at
was-
least pack in the house.
Oh yeah, and basketball is big in small towns. You
Yeah.
know, like it's one of the
It was
things we
Hoosiers
always
light.
did growing up. Yeah.
It's not Titanic. That's not on my list. Number 2 underneath Hoosiers, Fletch.
Oh yeah.
Fletch.
Excuse me.
That's a good one.
My car just hit a water buffalo. Dr. Sinelin and Dr. Rosen.
Put it on the Underhill
Speaking
account.
of Chevy, we just watched National Lampoons the other night. So that's one of our
That's
Christmas
my favorite
movies.
Christmas movie.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be
Christmas
more surprised
Vacation.
if I woke
That-
up, my head was sewed to the carpet.
There's an RV. Don't be falling in love with it,
Yeah.
because we're going to take it with us when we leave for next month.
Yeah.
You can go all day. So quotable.
For sure.
All right. Enough foolishness. Hey, great discussion on Google. Quantum computing, man, it's moving forward. It's always been 3 years out. Maybe they don't push it out 3 years. Maybe they start announcing they're getting somewhere with it. Because, man, when they do, world's going to change, hopefully for the better. Hopefully the view is that there's more good people than bad, and that even though we give the chance to put some bad things in the hands of a few good things in the hands of bad people, hopefully the good wins. I think people are inherently good. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna knock on wood and hope for that. You've been watching and listening to the Cashflow Academy podcast. Hope you find the insights valuable, especially as investors. And we wish you the best. Until next time, go to yourinvestingclass.com, like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next episode.